Welcome to Be Honest podcast with Dr. Yana and Dr. Sherry, where we hold honest conversations about life, relationships, challenges, and everything in between, with unfiltered discussions with real people offering their authentic stories, experiences, and perspectives. No topic is off limits and no story is too small. Join us on United Public Radio Network 107.7 FM. Hello, everyone listening and watching to us today. We are streaming live from Louisiana, from New Orleans on United Public Radio Network 105.3 and 107.7 FM. You are with us on a Be Honest podcast where we have honest relationship talks with Dr. Sherry and I. I'm Dr. Yana, and this is Dr. Sherry. Hello, Dr. Sherry.
Hi, thank you. It's nice to be here from New Orleans. I'm an existential coach, helping people make sense of their existence, their purpose, and meaning in life. And I hope to bring a lot of meaning to the table today.
That's so wonderful. And I'm Dr. Yana. If you don't know me yet, I am a transpersonal couples therapist. I have worked with the women and men to achieve their goals, to understand themselves and their relationships. And I hope that those that join us can learn something for themselves and be able to understand themselves and relationship and life in general. Today, we have a very interesting topic, how to weed through the nonsense of the dating world. Dr. Sherry, do you think that's an interesting topic?
I think it's an interesting topic, especially in modern day. I think there's such a diverse way of meeting people. So let's get to the bottom of it.
Let's get to the bottom of it. Exactly, exactly. So, what all that encompass? So, we have a few points to cover. But first of all, we have to understand in the dating world, it can be such a cruel dog world. And we have to be able to navigate in order not to be eaten. You know, that we get through the social media that life is supposed to be like a fairy tale, and then you're dating and romantic life is so good. But in fact, in reality, and not everybody's sharing with each other, and not everybody is honest even with themselves, that it can be such a cruel experience for in person dating and for the online dating. And especially nowadays in our modern world when everything went online, including us, Dr. Sherry.
Right.
Yeah. So, especially in the online dating world, it can be really cruel, upsetting, confusing at the same time. So, what do we do? How do we start it? I believe that we should start from the point of understanding our goals. So what do we need? What are we looking for? And to be completely honest with ourselves, not so much with other people at the very beginning, but to be honest with yourself. What are you looking for exactly? So, are you looking for finding a life partner? Are you looking for just to get your feet wet, to understand, to get back into the pool of dating? Or you're a professional dater and you still have not gotten any um, achievement of your goals? Like, what were you looking for? And you get so frustrated even after dating for several years. And it happened to me as well. I was there for several years, and it was really frustrating up until the time when I got so mad and upset, Not that other people, of course, that they were so frustrating, that the dating world is so awful. I thought, like, that's it, I'm done, I'm done, I'm done, and I will never get back here again. And then I sat with myself, and I thought, okay, what can I do on my end in order to have my ideals, my goals to come true? And I took the piece of paper and I wrote down what was so important to me, what I was looking for. Appeared to be that it was not in such an easy task because when we get into that pool of dating, we have so much information from our girlfriends, from our friends, just from parents, and just anybody, or just the social media. What do we do? What do we do? We just have to understand it for ourselves. And writing, in fact, is an amazing method to understand yourself and your goals. So I made a list. My list was huge. It was a whole page of understanding. Okay, like this is what I need, and this is what I don't need. So I created two columns: what I need, what I like, and what I want my partner to be, and what I don't like it to be. Because from the very beginning, I had, of course, a series of unpleasant encounters with people. Some were nice, some were not so nice, but it never worked quite out for me. So I knew what I did not want, but definitely I figured out what I wanted. And I was not ready and I was not willing to settle for anything anymore. So while you're there at the time when you completely hit the rock bottom in this area, right, in this field, or you're just still exploring and dating and meeting new people, or even seeing the people that you already know, I think it is absolutely important to get honest with yourself and ask yourself questions. What do I need?
I agree. Be honest is a wonderful way to look at it. If you can sit with yourself and be able to provide what you're seeking in someone else to them and to yourself, you have to be able to provide to yourself what you're also looking for in another person, I believe. So dating is a social activity. It's also an interpersonal activity. It's a connection with another person, generally in the form of developing a romantic connection. So I believe that authenticity is a big factor in dating, as it is ultimately in just life in general.
True. So, how do we get started? Well, we have to clarify our intentions first by taking a piece of paper and writing it all down for ourselves. And we don't have to make it public to to publish it on social media. These are my lists. Everyone who is remotely comparable to my list, come on along, because that can be so difficult in terms of once we become honest with other people as well about our needs and desires, those people can actually also be deceptive. They can be deceptive because they may not be honest with themselves, and they are not honest with you. So in my understanding, that it is important for us to know what exactly do we need, and keeping that list closer to your heart and not really revealing all that information to people, because the world as we know it, we think that, oh, it is so much different from the world that we used to have. Yes, with technology, for example, yes, right? But the thing is that the dating world has always been the same. It's the understanding of people, the techniques that they use to manipulate each other to get what they want. It's always been the case. So in our modern world, have we stopped being humans? No, we haven't. We still have our human personalities, right? We are in a human form, and we have to deal with it. And if we have the technology that is helping us, we have to be really smart in how to navigate our dating life through online means through all of those apps. We have to be extremely cautious. So, navigating technology wisely also implies to get some wisdom, you know? If you yourself, through all of your experience, have not been able to understand how to be cautious online, then there's so many different articles on that. I know, for example, I had to get to that through trial and error. But for me, I've always been so observant, and every time that I would meet people through online dating, through Match, for example, uh, would watch. I would watch the person because I had my own criteria how to understand what that person is all about, right? But the interesting thing is that some apps, they actually have special settings that can show even the distance of the person from you, right? Doesn't matter where you are, it shows the distance of the person. So there is a lot of deception going on with people, in fact, being scammers from different countries, from third, fourth, 10th world countries, trying to scam people in different cities, different countries, and thousands and thousands miles away. Well, that, if it is available, that we know it, right? What if it is not available? Then I would suggest to use your um, observational skills, you to understand how people speak. Well, for of course, like for me, it's much easier because I'm a linguist and analyze the language in which people speak, right? And in this terms, in this case, will be English. So to me, also being the university professor, I always analyze even the handwriting and even the uh, emails, all the papers, and I know how people speak. So I know that their baseline. Not always that we know the baseline of the person who is texting us through Match, for example, right? But if the person is saying that, oh, I'm from United States, I'm from California, then you have to be able to understand that that person should be speaking good English, right? And even if they claim that oh, I was born and raised in such and such state, you have to understand and be really vigilant on how the person is communicating with you, or whether they just prefer to be texting, or just uh, letting you know that, I cannot meet with you. I had a friend, she was communicating with a person online for several months, and the person never wanted to meet her. It's every single time there was something, oh, I can't do this, I can't meet with you today, or just canceling the very last second. What does it tell us as women, for example, if we're talking about us, Dr. Sherry? What does it tell us if the person cannot commit to meeting us after communicating with us online for so long, and even having conversations and text exchanges?
I think in addition to being scammed or thinking about people scamming you, people don't just look out to scam people for their money. They look out for time and loneliness. Some people are sitting behind a computer because they're lonely. They don't want to show their face. If people could understand the difference between loneliness and solitude, they would understand that just being alone, if you learn to sit with yourself and you learn to love yourself, I believe it's a Buddhist quote. If you learn to love yourself, you'll never be lonely again. You can sit with yourself. And I think if someone's showing those types of patterns, again, patterns, that's another key word we can tune into here. People display patterns. All human beings display patterns in relationships. Those where red flags come in. Those are patterns that sometimes we are so lonely, or we may be in our own denial. What does denial stand for? Don't even know I'm lying. There's an acronym for that, right? It's like, because we're lying to ourselves. Because oftentimes we meet people and we see the red flags, but we don't listen to them. So when somebody doesn't want to meet you, or won't even have a face-to-face conversation with you, over FaceTime, then I think you need to take a step back and uh, resituate yourself with that individual and ask yourself, why do I continue to reach out to this person who doesn't want to see me? What is it about me?
Well, a lot of the times, of course, that we seek for problems in other people and we don't see a log in our own eyes, right? We look for the speck, we see the speck in other people's eyes, but not, we don't see the log in our own. So while blaming people is one thing that I think that it is so incredible that you noted the love component here, and not necessarily to other people, right? But for ourselves. Now, what does it mean to love yourself? Is it like going to take a bath, the bubble bath with the glass of wine or champagne, to go get pampered with massages? What does it mean, in fact, Dr. Sherry?
I believe love means when you love yourself, you don't seek the external to make you feel whole. You don't rely on a person, a place, or a thing to feel whole. And remember, like when we blame people, anytime we point the finger, remember where the other three fingers are pointing? They're pointing right back at us, right? I mean, we could probably go a little further into Jung, right? Whatever we irritates us in another person is what is within ourselves. So I believe it's self love is not seeking something outside of myself to feel whole, not feeling I need to have a relationship to feel whole in my own life, being content with in my own being. I believe that's self love.
That is self love and not looking for the validation from the external world. But this is so difficult to do because we're social beings and we do seek validation for, we grow up this way, correct? And our parents, for example, they have praised us or not praised us or punished us for something, right? So we learned this kind of a behavior. So we do need some sort of a validation. So when we post something on social media and there's no response, the healthy response would be from yourself that, okay, maybe this is not the time. Maybe it is depending on the goal, the goal of your post, right? Um, but unhealthy response would be to continuously seek and count on who said what and look at how many likes and dislikes and hearts and thumbs up did we receive. So that is
Right.
unhealthy behavior. That is
Well,
unhealthy.
it's
We have
placing. Go ahead.
yeah, we have to understand that in ourselves and not to be so dependent on the outward validation, right? Because people may have ulterior motives to validate you. And depending on the type of daters, for example, we can see that in ourselves. What are
Mhm.
the type of daters that we have? We have casual daters, we have romantic daters, we have people who look for serious relationships, right? We are looking, we have the reserve daters, adventurous daters. There's so many different kinds that we can find themselves in it, right? They're hopeless romantics, they are rebound daters. So, in order to approach this safely, we have to say, um, people come from different ways of life, different ways and walks of life, including ourselves. And depending on the time that we entering the dating scene, we have to understand where we're coming from. For example, maybe we just ended the relationship with somebody and we are hurting and we're trying to get back on the dating scene, to also to validate our feelings, to validate that we're still attractive, that we're still smart, and we're still desirable. But with other people, it may be the same. So when you meet the person for the first time, what do you bring to the table? Hoping that you get a coffee at least, and not just the walking date that a lot of people like to do, right? Or to a dinner table. There's just think that what do we bring to it? We have to bring ourselves. We have to bring our perfect and clear understanding of our own goals. We have to bring our own boundaries, and that is a part of self love. And if it is not, if people think that the boundaries they are not, and we have to put ourselves for the service of other people, then that could be a problem. You know, loving yourself in terms of not spilling the what they call the pearls in front of swines. That's what we call it, right? And I must say, there's a lot of swine that we throw the pearls in front of, and I'm not calling those people swine, but at the same time, those people don't deserve. It's just a euphemism, and they don't deserve our attention and what we are able to offer to them. So,
Mhm.
how can we approach this first date, Dr. Sherry, in your opinion?
Well, I think first you should take a little time to get to know the person. Are you speaking? I mean, with regard to a dating app, even speaking on the phone, first date, just bring yourself. Like you said, communication is key. Clarify your intentions. If you're going there seeking an expectation and seeking validation from the person, these things are not always conscious either. These are often things that are, we don't even realize that's happening to us. Sometimes we know our gut is talking to us, but we don't listen to it. So bringing to the first date, I would say open and honest communication, and behold or embrace rejection if it happens, because I think in the dating world there's going to be a lot of rejection. I think rejection is just a sign of there's an incompatibility, and rejection is what I've been told is like the creator's protection, the divine protection. So rejection is protection.
There is an incredible story that I heard a long time ago, and it's such a wise story that I'd like to share. A long time ago, there was one woman in a village. She was so unhappy, and she was seeking the advice of one of the elders in the village. So she went to him and said, everyone in my life have been really every person in my life, whoever came along, whether that would be my children, my husband, or just anybody, my friends, neighbors, they've all mistreated me, and they all really treated me really badly for whatever reason. I've been always so nice and sweet to them and accommodating and giving them my last everything that I had. So, what is the problem? She asked him. So the wise man replied, do you go outside in the morning? Do you go outside naked, undressed, for everybody to see your naked body? And her reply was, how can I do that? That's impossible. Why would you even ask that question? So his reply was, if you don't go outside naked for everybody to see your naked body, then why do you go outside into the public with your naked, uncovered soul? So we must be able to understand how to protect ourselves. And that is an absolutely fine thing to do. Nowadays, when we hear a lot about, oh, we have to be so open and transparent, that transparency is just killing me, I must say. While we have to weed through the nonsense of a lot of shadiness, at the same time, being completely transparent can hurt us in the dating scene. We don't have to go out and immediately suggest to people, oh, this is what I'm looking for. This is my list. Shove it into the person's face. And if you don't agree with any of these points, out of here. You know? So that's not the approach. But at the same time, we have to be able to protect our hearts and protect our souls. What does it mean? To get educated in manipulative techniques, to be educated in how to know what people are after, to look at their physical appearance, to look at the way that they are talking. What is it suggestive of? Because a lot of the times when we go on a first date, and I must give people a great advice that I learned a long time ago. On the first date, when we meet someone, doesn't have to be the romantic interest or just anybody. The first time you meet the person, they will always be very honest with you, because they think that they might not even see you again. So that is just the subconscious understanding of it. So whatever questions that you ask them, they will be able to respond honestly, more or less honestly about it. Well, depending on the person, of course. So get as much information as you can. Talk in a very nonchalant way, but really observing the person. So uh, it is absolutely important also to let the people know what you're looking for in a very, I would say, short sentence without really revealing what's extremely important to you. If you're looking for the life partner, you say, yes, I'm looking for the life partner. And to me, it is a very important thing. And I am a serious person. And I would like to meet another person who would be matching my interest, my personality, right? You can do that. But at the same time, you should not reveal everything to the new person that you meet in terms of your likes and dislikes, because people can mirror you so easily. And that could be a problem for you in a long term. For if the person decides to stick with you, then for doesn't matter how long time, like a week, 2 or 3 or 5 months, for example, they could be easily mirroring you, giving you what you are looking for. So have to be really difficult, have to be really easily understood and to get clear with, right? So, and then again, if the person comes to you and they have a different understanding of life in general, and they have a different goal, if you're a serious person, and so if you approach the relationship seriously and this dating scene, and the person is, for example, just an adventurous dater and just want to have some fun, then that may not be a match for you. But again, Dr. Sherry, like you said, we have to be honest with ourselves and understanding that if we let go of those red flags that we're seeing, that this person is not for us, but at the same time, oh, he looks so cute, right? Oh, she looks so adorable. And we're just trying to make something with them. That may not be a great match for you, because if you are just physically attracted to each other, then you must also understand that the attraction has to happen on so many different levels as well, which are not less important, meaning that the emotional level, spiritual level, right, intellectual level, and also the physical level. So Dr. Sherry, in your experience, did you find that true, or you think that physical attraction could be enough for all of us?
Well, my experience, I have a lot of red flags that I've missed. I chose to miss them looking back. Like Steve Harvey said, if I could sew all my red flags together, I could make a cape and fly away with it. So I understand. I have the experience with the red flags. Showing up on a first date, I believe it's important to be open and honest. You don't have to tell everybody. I don't think there'll be enough time to tell your life story. I think in addition to our psychological presence that we bring, we're also bringing in our biological truth, which we are predetermined, I believe, as a species, and what research points out, to have neurochemicals going on in our body that also lead us into directions that are, we may want something quicker than we are willing to work for it. So we may want to dive into a relationship or to something quicker than is necessary because we truly don't know a person. So if you have experience going into a relationship really quickly, another quote, whatever happens fast tends to ends fast. So if we dive into something really quickly and we don't know the person, you may be hanging out and you figure like 8 months down the road, you're not even compatible with this person. So I think the most important thing is to build a compatibility. Am I compatible with this person? Do my values align with this person? Can they be long term? Or as you mentioned, if you're clear with your intentions, if they just want to be casual, you can have a casual relationship if that's what you're seeking. But if you're not seeking a casual relationship and another person is, and you get hooked up on this person and they decide they want to walk out, then those are the things you have to embrace and not be shifting blame when they told you their true intentions.
But that I believe it is so easy to do because the hardest thing is to look into ourselves, correct? And it is so easy to project our insecurities and blame other people. And we see that all the time. And we just look at ourselves and our own behavior, we will be able to recognize it that we are truly projecting our insecurities when that person could be a pretty good match for us as well. However, by working through our own personal problems and traumas and insecurities, and then entering the dating world would be an absolute must. Because if we don't, all those insecurities and all those traumas, they are going to be guiding our choices. So, and those choices definitely will not be the best for us. So, if we're hoping that after a very difficult, abusive relationship, we immediately go into the dating scene and we hope to find the uh, Prince Charming on the white horse galloping our way and marrying us immediately, if that is our goal, that will not be possible. So we have to take those rose tinted glasses off, right? By realistically looking at the life around us.
Yes,
So
remove the smoking mirrors.
remove that completely, because if you're putting that yourself in front of you, right, then you're not going to be able to see things clearly. And that could be, you could definitely meet a very fantastic person with whom you think that you're going to be able to build an incredible life. But if that person is so incredible and emotionally available and completely stable emotionally and financially in their life, right? And you are not, then nothing is going to be possible at that time as well. So, this is what I even discovered in myself. And also the so many men and women that I have coached. So we have to get honest. We have to get honest with ourselves at the very beginning. We have to work through whatever we're going through before even entering the dating scene. Unless it is just to get your feet wet for the social interaction, for making friends. But if we are hurting, if we have not resolved our personal issues, then we're going to bring these issues from one relationship to another. And it will be very problematic, a very, very traumatic for ourselves. Well, for another person as well, but they have a choice to leave us, right? And the patterns that you have mentioned, Dr. Sherry, the patterns is a very important thing because nowadays we can be quite naive and listen to the words that the person is saying. And I was there myself. I'm not just saying that I'm this omnipotent, almighty, the most smart, the smartest person in the world, right? I know how to navigate everything. No, but it is important to get clear with ourselves, right? Now I forgot what I was going to, Dr. Sherry. It all
That's
slipped into
okay.
subconscious. What were we talking about?
Well, like we were, to sum it up metaphorically, relationships are like, you want your, like a house, a foundation. So you want to build this strong foundation to have a healthy, functional relationship. But when you go from dysfunction or having relationships that have toxic behavior that causes dysfunction in a relationship, every time you leave, when you continuously go back and just dive into the dating pool, not healing yourself, each time you go through a breakup or even a tremendous one, the foundation crumbles. So many times, myself included, I've got right back into the dating scene, dragging my house behind me in a sack because it's all rubble. So I'm trying to put a new relationship to get back together with this rubble instead of trying to build a new foundation, metaphorically speaking. So like what you're saying, if you don't take time to heal, you may tend to come with a broken foundation and start to self sabotage based on your own insecurities of not taking time for yourself. I think this also bleeds into attachment styles, but I think we should save that for another show because that's a whole another ball game or can of worms.
Absolutely. And now, if we're talking about the rebound relationship, I did not even know what it was long time ago. And I was going from one relationship to another, carrying, like you said, the entire house of rubble, right? And I would bring the same issue into every relationship. So, to tell you my story very briefly, when it changed for me, I had to withdraw myself from the dating scene because it was one and the same relationship and with different partners again and again and again. And speaking about the patterns, if we believe something what the people are saying, it's a one thing, and then we see their action. Oh, it just may feel so nice to us, right? But however, I have learned to one very important thing, and that has been my motto for my entire life, that I don't believe what people say. I sometimes don't even believe their actions because they can be good, they can be bad, but I always believe patterns. Patterns never lie. Either my own patterns or the patterns of the people whom I'm seeing, whether friends or partners. So if we see the pattern, one particular pattern or several patterns in a row, we have to ask ourselves, what is it here that I need to understand? And to stop excusing that person's behavior. Because, as human species, and especially being female, we have the tendency to forgive, to be nice in the relationship, to kind of even out the sharp corners. Um, but we need to get honest again with ourselves and say, all right, I have observed this person for quite some time. And people can actually give away their cues from the early on. And then you can say that, all right, this person promised, made several promises that he's going to do this, this, and that. And I've been waiting and I've been waiting, and he just keeps giving promises and not fulfilling them. What does it tell us? If we have a trauma, for example, there's something very familiar we went through in our previous relationship or as children with our parents, we're going to be excusing that behavior again and again and again because it feels to us as a very familiar environment, and we will just continue to excuse that behavior. But then, how do we get out of ourselves? Because it's very uncomfortable. We cannot change the situation in our lives coming with the same framework, right? That we approach situations and problems before. We have to change it. Well, how do we do that? This is such a difficult thing to do. So, how do we approach that, Dr. Sherry?
It's specifically what the patterns.
Yes, how do we get outside of ourselves, of our own paradigm, for example, that
Okay.
we use for understanding of this world, and how do we get on a different level of understanding of ourselves and other people? How do we change that paradigm?
I think one thing to remember as well, like there's a lot of unconscious things, like you said, from our childhood. A lot of times we have this primitive fear of abandonment because we don't want to be lonely. So we will stay in a relationship because it's unconscious until you bring your consciousness to the light, even by writing it on paper. Until you make your unconscious conscious, you're just going to continue to allow your shadow to probably lead you in life, and you may experience a lot of fear. I think getting in touch with yourself is one of the self-discovery, self-transformation is a major goal in being able to navigate healthy relationships. Because if I have There's different types of adult attachment styles. Let me just bring up some attachment here. Because attachment has a lot to do with how we deal with our adult relationships. We have secure, about 50% of the population is secure. I believe it's like 20% are avoidant, 25% are anxious, and there's some disorganized, and that tends to be, I believe it's fearful and avoidant, anxious and avoidant. So if you're having these experiences, say you're self-sabotaging your relationship, and you sit with yourself and you're like, I'm really becoming really jealous of my partner. They're giving me no indication of why I should be jealous, but my own insecurities are causing me to do this, and I continue to self-sabotage. That would be a pattern that keeps going. So I think it starts with yourself and having the ability to come to self and trying to get out of the relationship. So often, and I'm guilty of this myself, I've stayed in relationships beyond the expiration date. I didn't even want to be with the person anymore. I knew I didn't love them, nor were we not compatible, but I just for some reason couldn't leave. And it was because I didn't work on myself, and I was latched onto this. I believe it's like a fear of abandonment, fear of being alone, fear of not getting what I want, fear of losing out. I think coming to terms with those things will help us manifest a reality in a relationship to be able to detach from an unhealthy attachment.
That is so true. That is very true. But we don't, we walk our life, we walk on the path of our life without even thinking, oh, what is that person's attachment? Even I didn't for quite a long time. I didn't know anything about attachment theory, right? And once I got to understand, it's like, okay, well, like, where's this pattern coming from? My own pattern, because I could see it as a pattern of other people around me, right? And then I thought, I would just point finger and say that, oh, this person has anxious attachment disorder. No, not the disorder, anxious attachment style. Oh my God, like I'm just pathologizing everything here. Not a disorder style. And then, or avoidant, right? And it's like, oh, okay, now I know what it is. Now I know what that is. Now I know how to deal with this person, right? Until it dawned on me that, oh my God, I have one of those styles, and my style was not a secure style of attachment either. So my entire life, I've been going from person to person, abandoning them, like dropping them cold, like that, right into the gutter. Bam, done with them. Like if they somehow said something to me that I did not like, or that was beyond even repair, and I would give them the first, the second, and third chance, and they would just fail to live to my expectations. Bam, gone out of my life. Next, you know. While it could be a very healthy approach, right? Because we know our boundaries, we know what we want, what we don't want, but at the same time, not understanding ourselves is going to cause the problems in our lives in the next relationship. And then I wondered, why in this crazy world, why do I have the same type of a person come into my life all the time with the different faces, tall and short, and of the bold and with hair? It's like, why in the world, from the different ethnic backgrounds, even so different countries? So I had European boyfriends, and I had American, and I had all sorts, but then all would be the same, with the same type of a personality, because it felt familiar to me in the first place. Second, I did not look into myself to see, why am I having this pattern? Those people have no clue why they come into my life. I have to be able to understand, like, why. And for that, in order to do that, we have to stop. We have to stop. We have sometimes there is an epiphany when we hit the rock bottom, right? Okay, I can't go like that anymore. This is it. I'm destroyed, um, emotionally, financially. I can't go on like that. So, what it is important to do is just to stop and be honest with yourself. Go into another room, Give yourself some time, not really running around or uh, pampering yourself massages with the different kind of uh, physical things that make us feel good. Yeah, they may work for a while, but if you don't dig deep into your subconscious, you don't dig deep, even scratch the surface, nothing's going to be possible, and you will continue to meet the same kind of person again and again and again. So for me, Dr. Sherry, it took me 2 years, 2 years in the convent, sort of, away from any relationship, away from anything. Well, of course, like I would live my normal life, working, seeing people. It's not that I really went into monastery for a couple of years, but I gave myself that time. And up until I decided what is important to me, why am I having these patterns? Why am I settling for all of this wrong partners? Why am I excusing this behavior? Once I found it, then I was able to get out of my solitude. But not that for me, for example, it took 2 years of deep soul searching. For other people, it may be um, will take less time, but nevertheless, we have to be able to stop. And I cannot stress the importance of it enough, because it is so difficult to look into ourselves. We distract ourselves with everything, with friends, with parties, with the books, with movies, with travel, with anything that we want. So we would not look into ourselves. That is the most important thing. So I did it. And after that, I was able to find a life partner that would be of what I wanted him to be. Because before, whatever I wanted would manifest, right? And the interesting thing is that if we talk about manifestation, our new age manifestation, whatever you wanted manifest, right? I was able to do everything, everything. For me, that came easy to the to little bitty details. If I, for example, if I saw a nice looking man with a great personality, right? And really attractive, and I'm like, oh, I really like him. Met one guy at the library studying, and he was married at the time, and he was just a very interesting person, very nice and polite, and something that I really wanted to have in my life. But of course, the person being married, it is of uh, um, out of the question. But I thought to myself, oh, how nice it would be to have this kind of a man in my life, this type of a man in my life. Before you know it, 6 months went by. I got this same exact person, not the same man, but looking the same height, the same personality, looking the same facial features, even the teeth structure would be the same. We'll all have different, it's like they have our own personal DNA, right? The shape of our teeth, even that would be the same. So every single time that I would go out and thinking, this is what I want, and this is a list that I want, before this 2 years, before all that soul searching experience, I would just be asking the universe for different things that I thought that were important to me at the time. Well, guess
Perhaps you
what?
were trying to fill a void.
I was trying to fill a void. At the time, I thought, okay, this sound nice. I want to have this in my life. And every time it would come exactly in the package that I ordered, exactly. And then I was thinking to myself, like, how in the world am I not getting? How in the world am I not happy? Why am I not getting what I really want? I did not know what I really wanted. It just suited me and my situation at the time. So, taking that time, Dr. Sherry, is very important.
I
What do you think
agree.
about it?
I took some time myself. I think taking any time and having a sense of freedom, that's a very important thing in life, is understanding the true meaning of freedom. What does it mean to you to have freedom? Because you should have the same freedom that you have on your own with a healthy partner. You should bring support each other's goals and be healthy. And just because you take time for yourself, years could go by and you feel like you know yourself. Life is a journey, and we're going to always make mistakes. Just because we feel like we've done so much work doesn't mean we're going to get into a relationship and it's going to be a good one. We may find things in that relationship like I did. I took some time for myself. I went into a relationship and realized they were red flags there, but I chose to not see them. I thought they would fix themselves. It was a good relationship overall, just incompatible in the end. I think it's good to remember that even though you work on yourself doesn't mean it's going to be perfect when you get out in the dating world. And a lot of
Absolutely.
us perceive going inside as difficult and hard. I don't foresee it to be so difficult and hard. I just believe you have to be willing to go left after going right your entire life. You have to have the courage to sit with yourself. The ego is always going to want to take you outside of yourself. That's what it's designed for. I don't want to say the ego is out to destroy us, not technically, but when we're living in that state of that validation, that ego, if we let the ego run our lives, then it's going to pump us in other, it's going to allow us to keep going right. But if you have the courage to go left and put your, I guess, your faith, your feelings in something unknown and trust the phenomena of that, that's going into self. Go left for once. Or if you've always been going left, go right. Hell, go straight ahead if you want to. Take the journey,
Exactly.
have the courage. It's actually not that hard. It's just a matter of being brave, and you can do it. Anyone can do it.
Yeah, and that
You're
is the
born with
journey.
everything you need.
Absolutely, it is the journey, and that is why we are also we're sharing our stories because we are not ideal. There's not one single ideal person. Well, maybe myself. I'm very ideal.
Well, sometimes we idealize people. We idealize people, and then we get to know them, and we realize I idealize this person. They're not even anything that what I made up in my mind. We're very good at making things up in our mind. Very good at it.
True. Yeah, but at the same
Our
time, when we think
perception.
true, and it goes the other way as well. For example, where I was going with like I am myself, I'm the ideal person, right? And of course, I'm not. Who knows? Well, maybe I am, But no, seriously,
Ideally, you are.
ideally, we can think of ourselves as the person who deserves everything. And those people that come our way, they should serve us for whatever reason, right? But what's important to understand about it that not only that the people that come our way try to manipulate us, we are manipulating them as well.
Hmm.
So having this uh, attitude in life that I'm the best and I deserve everything could be very narcissistic. Well, now we overuse this term narcissist. So the person that when the person has a different opinion with yourself, and he's like immediately narcissist, right? And if the person has healthy boundaries, oh my God, this person is a narcissist. If you respect yourself to the point that you are not going to give in to the pressures of another person, you're a narcissist. You feel entitled. You're a narcissist. Not necessarily. You can have a healthy understanding of self worth, right? And your position in the society, and also just for yourself, and not be a narcissist. I've been thinking about that for quite a long time that we must be able to love ourselves in a healthy way and not feeling entitled that everyone out there is supposed to serve us and bring us what we want. That
Yeah, because I wouldn't be love.
that would not be love. And then when we blame others for being narcissistic, there is huge valid reason why we do that because um, we have a highly narcissistic society that is being promoted through social media, through our friends, even, right? The movies. Look at our politicians. There's so much narcissism going on as well. So our society validates this kind of behavior. So while there are true pathological narcissists out there that are um, that have predatorial behavior, we have to also be able to recognize those kind of symptoms in ourselves. Well, not the symptoms, but the signs in ourselves. Because narcissistic personality disorder, if we look at it, not everyone has it, you know, but
It could be confused with borderline personality disorder in
can
some
be
cases.
confused with
Yeah.
borderline. Yeah, if we just go, it has to be probably the separate topic of discussion, but
Hmm.
it is a very valid point. But we also have to recognize that in ourselves. So, how do we, if we're not narcissistically inclined, right? How do we recognize it in other people that come our way? So, I'm sure so many listeners and viewers have already went through this pattern one way or another in their life through idealization stage, right? Then devaluation and a discard. And then while we're speaking with all these technical terms, these are the stages of narcissism. And if we look at that, we can have our pattern, our partners, boyfriends, husbands, wives, girlfriends, anybody. If we look at that, and we are this highly agreeable, very nice person who gives ourselves away and always want to be nice, we have to be able to recognize those patterns and say, that doesn't work for me anymore. That is too traumatic. That is too destructive. At the beginning, speaking of the online dating, if you meet the person for the first time, for the first few times and even a few months, there is a stage that is called idealization stage, which involves the notorious love bombing stage. When the person just completely does everything for you, mirrors you, loves you with flowers, with different kinds of gifts. Oh, you travel together, you the most amazing person for them at this time, and they've never met anyone like you before, and you are so incredibly idealistically fantastically beautiful for them. And you start thinking, oh my God, I've never had it before. And so many people fall for that, including myself. Oh my God, I fell for that so many times, thinking, oh, I already know all of this red signs, right? Red flags, and so many different signs of narcissism and manipulative behavior. And even I myself fell for that many times. So it's easy to do, but at the same time, we have to be conscious about it. And then what happens? All of a sudden, all of a sudden, they start doubting you. They stop giving you flowers. They stop wanting spending time with you. And you are no longer that incredible person in their lives. You're just an ordinary person that they disregard. Quite often, they stop responding to your texts, don't pick up your calls. And then you start wondering why, what is going on there, right? And then you start doubting
Patterns
yourself.
changed.
Patterns changed. And if you believe, like, oh, those kind of patterns with narcissistic relationships, they are an ongoing patterns that happen again and again and again because people can't really change their paradigm and they continue to behave a certain way. And then at the end, they leave you. It can be as dire as a breakup. It can be just that I no longer want to talk to you or just give me space. We need some time away from each other. And that hurts. That hurts a lot. And then what happens? After that, in a little while, they come back and they start the hovering stage. They come back and they want you and they want to lure you back into their life. They give you all these false promises again. Oh, we're so in love with each other. We're going to be so great and fantastic. And as soon as you come back, they lose the interest again. So, speaking in this really simplistic terms, would actually let people understand, allow people to understand these patterns that are going on in everyday life, in everyday relationships. So, how do we go about that? How do we go about that, Dr. Sherry? How do we recognize this narcissistic behavior and actually take a step to protect ourselves?
First, get to know someone, understand to get to know yourself. When you're getting to know someone, you tend to know what a red flag is. This person's telling me they love me too soon. I'm not comfortable with all this doting after knowing this person for 2 weeks. Just recognizing the signs of those types of things. I don't think narcissism is going to be something that, I think people who tend to show narcissism are very inclined to be able to charm and do that type of behavior for a long time. And even those types of behaviors doesn't necessarily mean someone's a narcissist. It could just be their attachment style has leads them to act in a manner that they're so afraid to lose what they have, or they're so afraid to be attached to something, that they do those behaviors. To come here, go, it's the dance of in a relationship. Come here, go away. It's a part of that idea. Realization you value and a lot of times they call you back.
Hmm. It's either on my side, Dr. Sherry, or I'm not just hearing what you're saying. There's some sort of interference going on. So I hope that no, I cannot hear you. So, oh, you're coming in and out. You're coming in and out. This is better, I think. But there's
Okay.
some clicking going on. Okay, well, I guess we can continue. Well, while it could be the problem of attachment, of course, we cannot and should not over pathologize anywhere, in anybody or anywhere that you go. There's also the sense of entitlement and grandiosity, uh, need for admiration, and constant need for validation. Um, while we can talk about the narcissism and how to protect ourselves from it and how not to exhibit that the same behavior as we condemned in other people, we also have to understand that it is not so easy sometimes to even to pinpoint the narcissist. They can be the most fantastic people that we meet. It can be, of course, on a grandiose level that you see the person and that person is completely, and you see that it's a grandiose behavior, sense of entitlement, and these people are not shy to let you know about it. But at the same time, there are narcissists, which are called covert narcissists. They're not so obvious. You cannot really see them as narcissists, you know? So, how do we understand things that are not so obvious? We are streaming live from the United Public Radio Network, 105.3 and 107.7 FM from beautiful New Orleans. And I'm Dr. Yana, and this is Dr. Sherry. And we are talking about relationships, how to navigate through nonsense. So, Dr. Sherry, have you met any covert narcissists in your life?
No, I go as far as that was I could say I had my hand of not having experience a relationship out of so I but I engaged type
I'm not hearing you. I'm not hearing you. I don't understand what's going on there, but maybe we need to fix somehow. Is it on my end? Can you hear me well? Yep, I cannot hear you well at all. So I don't understand what is going on. There is some sort of a static going on,
I think
clicking.
it's
What's that? What did you say?
Perhaps there's this feed.
It's going in and
You may,
out. Maybe you can just disconnect the. Maybe there's a microphone. Maybe microphone problems. I don't know.
oh,
It's at your end. I see it here. It is at your end.
can you hear
I
me?
can't hear you. No, no, no. I can't hear you. Yeah, but
You
that has been an
do it.
issue in some places, I hear. Yeah, yeah, yeah. This is not the only time. So we also need to understand when we meet other people and when we interact with them, what are the little bitty signs that we need to pay attention to in regard of narcissism? And that can be, of course, narcissistic behavior that is a part of many different psychological disorders, but the predatory behavior, we will call it the predatory behavior and a destructive behavior. So, for example, we have something that is called gaslighting, and I'm sure many people know about it, but those that don't, Dr. Sherry, could you tell us a little bit about gaslighting, if we can hear you well?
Can you hear me?
Oh, I can
I don't
hear
think
you.
you
Yes.
can hear me.
Oh,
You can hear
fantastic.
me. Okay.
Yeah,
I was
everything is
just
good.
gaslighting you the whole time. That's
Ah,
it.
you were gaslighting me the whole time.
But gaslighting, well, that's a huge one. That's basically manipulating someone into believing something that perhaps happened to them when it actually didn't. Do you have any examples in your personal life, Dr. Yana,
Well, in my
of being
personal life, yes,
gaslit,
yes, yes, yes,
or like
yes.
in your personal experience?
My personal experience, I had so much of that. And before, I didn't know anything about gaslighting. And, you know, it is so incredible that nowadays the youth knows more about it than we do at our age. This is incredible to me because I am so glad that the youngsters now, the new generation, they are knowing. And even my 15-year-old daughter. Oh my God, she knows so much about it. However, we can call anything gaslighting, right? Even when the person is telling the truth, you can see that, oh no, that never happened. Like, and this, you're gaslighting me, right? The person may not be even responding to your text and saying, like, listen, this is what happened, like with the CME, for example,
Hmm.
right now, right? The
Yeah.
technology problems, right? The sun is overly active nowadays, and today there electromagnetic storm today, and radio blackouts and everything. So there could be problems with communication, right? And we can immediately assume that the person is lying to us. So we have to be cautious about labeling. Everything as gaslighting, but at the same time, it is a very serious issue. For example, I will connect it to the person whom I like tremendously. The person had an incredible personality that was um, not calling names. Uh, one of the people of the art world. So I found that person so magnificent, so incredible, with incredible personality, and the heart was fantastic. His heart was in the right place. He was always caring about feelings of other people, accommodating them, sometimes going against himself, and always like telling the truth, and being working at the benefit of the entire world, like being so selfless at the same time. And I started to like that person, meaning as a friend. And then I started noticing that the indiscrepancies in the story, in the narrative that he was telling me. One time it would be the story that he was adopted, completely adopted as a child, never had any parents. And another time would say, oh no, my mom is actually my biological mom, my dad is not. And every time thinking that I am a smart person, I still have my good memory, right? I don't have memory lapses. And I started thinking that how is it possible? Am I remembering things correctly, or what is going on? And I pointed out, I said, I thought you said it differently. No, 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 you are not remembering it correctly. I never said it. And that is on such a mundane level, of course, that I never said it. And then you are confused. I don't know where you get this information from. And with the different kind of questions that I asked the person on different occasions, something that I would be remembering that he said before, or through the conversation, or even through texts, I never said it. You're confused. Are you okay? He's asking me. That have you been going through something in your life? And at some point in time, you don't expect anything malignant from the good person, right? And then I started thinking and observing the behavior, and I have realized what it was. It was the person who was exhibiting closet narcissistic behavior. It was not an overt narcissist with a crazy, crazy sense of entitlement and grandiosity. That person was kind of working behind the scenes, you know, not so overtly, but at the same time, it was looking for admiration, for validation. The person had lack of empathy regarding of the image that he was projecting on others of this the most benevolent, fantastic, and caring person. And if we think, for example, at, of narcissism, how incredibly destructive it can be, so how overt, and we immediately know that the person is a narcissist. No. Sometimes we don't know that the person can exhibit narcissistic behavior who can be that narcissist with the same pattern of behavior that carries from one relationship to another. And that can be so destructive. We can think of the person as so incredible, the best person in the world. Oh my God, we're so lucky to meet this person and have in our lives. When in fact, it could be a narcissist. And a narcissist, they operate through the position of shame, deep, deep seated shame. So that's why they gaslight. That's why they look for admiration, for validation. And they have to somehow silence the voice of the shame that they have. So while we think that narcissists can be or are self-assured, fantastic, incredible people who can get their way through just like looking good, through being so charismatic and outgoing, they are not. At the end of the day, they sit with themselves and they're deeply uh, not self-assured. They're deeply in pieces with themselves, but they will never let anyone see that. So with the gaslighting, when the person is continuously making you doubt your reality, you have to put a stop to it, or at least with yourself, to understand wait a minute, I heard that correctly. And the thing is that if you bring that evidence to the person, like through the text or the voicemail, for example, and you tell them that, oh, this is exactly how I heard. What happens with narcissists? That they will tell you that it is your problem, that how dare you accuse them uh, of this, how can you be so insensitive? So they will turn tables on you. It is not an easy way at all to navigate through manipulation and narcissism and predatory behavior out there. It is not easy at all, but we can get acquainted with that and start thinking and pondering and seeing the patterns that the person is exhibiting, right? And then drawing our own conclusions.
The
That I
relationship's about growth.
It's about
And you,
growth, and you're growing with yourself all the time, right? You should become your own best friend. And a lot of the times that we are our own worst friends, we don't give ourselves the best advice, and we continue to give third, fifth, 10th, and 200th chances to the person who will never change. And narcissists will never change. If you see that person, those people will never change. So now, what else do we need to cover here? We have spoken of the types of daters and how do people manipulate us, and we manipulate them, of course, through silent treatment. Silent treatment is another incredible thing when people ghost you at the same time. When they're playing a victim, if you see or hear the person complaining a lot and constantly appearing to be the victim of circumstances, of other people, then you must be able to understand that there it's a huge sign of narcissistic behavior. So while we think that grandiose narcissism cannot be victims, oh yes, they're victims all the time. And you will be able, you will want to fix them or help them when in fact you are not able to do so. It's like a never ending well, unsatisfied well that the person will try to fill again and again and again. And that's not just not possible. So, spoke about gaslighting, emotional manipulation, then deceptive communication. With the deceptive communication, we should make it actually the separate topic of discussion, Dr. Sherry, how to recognize deception. How do people lie to you? Of course, we cannot really cover that in just a few minutes, but that is a very, very pertinent topic because we lie to people and they lie to us. Not necessarily that we should go outside into the world not protecting ourselves and we should be telling the truth all the time, right? No, but people lie, and sometimes they lie blindly by giving you the information that you want to hear. So if
And
you're out
sometimes we
there,
lie to ourselves.
what's that?
Sometimes we lie to ourselves.
Oh, I'm a
Mm.
master. I was a master of lying to myself. Oh, I just loved it, you know? I just, and I'm sure that many people are the same way up until the time that I decided to be brutally honest with myself. You know, it was not pleasant at all. I must tell you,
Mm-mm.
to be honest with yourself is not pleasant at all. So it may feel really unsettling sometimes because what
That's all
you
about taking a different path. Because once you take that path and you embrace it, I believe it's one of the most beautiful feelings in the world. I mean, what can be better than honesty?
that's
Not
what
much.
we think, my dear. That's what we think. But it can be so unsettling. And even with myself, when I understood that I also have uh, the unhealthy attachment style, the anxious attachment style, when I understood that, it was so unpleasant for me that, and I thought myself as having a secure attachment style. I've always been the um, I've always been behaving correctly, seeing that in other people, oh, it's their fault. You know, it is my fault as well. So, but it was very unsettling. It was painful. It was painful because that changes your own narrative of yourself, of your life story. So you have one image of yourself, and all of a sudden you think that that is not the truth. So,
To know
truth,
strength, you must know pain,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah,
It gets
yeah.
you there. It gets you there. It may be unsettling, but at the end of the day, to become honest with yourself, I think it feels you have a feeling of goodness inside of you, even though you have to what is often called grieve these things of us, grieve the person that I was, and embrace the person I'm becoming. Because I think it's important to also note that those people, including ourselves, we often sometimes slip into victimhood, own lives, because it's just the pattern that we in our life. So I wouldn't necessarily. I wanted to clarify that perhaps just in case others listening, that just because someone's in victimhood doesn't necessarily make them a narcissist.
when it is temporary, when it is temporary and we
Right.
deal with it and we
When
get
it's
out of that
fleeting.
situation that we're in. But when it is a
Yes.
continuous pattern that people are exhibiting and talk about them, how they have been mistreated their entire life through their parents, through their friends, how they've been mistreated at the work, that their boss is the worst person in the world, right? Then that can be problematic. If you hear that on a continuous basis, then that's the problem. Looks like
Yes. That's,
we were frozen here for a little bit, and we're blaming the
are you
sun
ghosting
here.
us now?
We are blaming the sun.
Are you ghosting us?
Yeah, so things have stopped on my end. At least we can
Well,
hear each
I can
other,
hear
which
you.
is good.
Yeah. So what about how about rejection and enjoying the process of being out there and dating? Not to always look at it as a downward spiral. What are your thoughts on enjoying the moment and dealing with rejection and not making rejection attached to your self-worth?
Well, then it is a dog eat dog world. There is the in the online dating. So how do we go about the rejection? We should not take it personally. We should take it transpersonally, knowing that we all come from different places. We come from different stories and understanding of life and relationship with our own different baggage, whether we dealt with that or not. So the rejection can be perceived very personally when it is in fact not. Looks like I completely lost everyone here.
So
Sherry, can you hear me? Or can
I
you
can
see
hear
me?
you.
Oh, I'm back. I'm
No,
back. Sherry, you're back. You're back. It's all the sun, sun, sun. Oh, okay. My Siri is talking to me. And I have the British voice, of course, because that's the only one that understands my accent when I give him directions or asking the questions. This is so funny. Yeah. So now we're all back. And
yeah.
that is, could be, that is the problem. Okay. So we have been having all these technical difficulties. We better we
With
better bring the show to an
rejection.
end. And I've been having
Yes.
all these clicks and everything, and it's so distractive. We have been streaming live from United Public Radio Network 105.3, 107.7 FM. And we have been your hosts. I am Dr. Yana, and this is Dr. Sherry. We are bringing you the honest conversations about the relationships, and not one single topic is too small, not one single story is not told. So we're going to be talking about everything. So if you have any questions, come and ask us. Please join us live or in recording. Ask us questions. We'll be happy to respond to them. And thank you for joining us today. Goodbye.